Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. We have a history-making president, and more than just on, getting elected against all odds. We have a history-making president that is shattering records. I'm not talking stock market, baby. Y'all know what y'all talking. Kevin, we know the stock market went to 22,000. It'll go to 22,000, and don't be surprised if it goes to 23,000. Just telling you, we've had a minor, correction, if you will. It dropped. Market will be back over 22,000, and before you know it, it'll be to 22.5, 22.6, 23, and cresting, 23 plus soon. And meanwhile, gold is still going up. Gold. Everything's growing because it's growing in value. Now, and I know, you can look at the markets. Gold goes up when the price of the dollar, value goes down, etc. All bets are off right now. It's going to be a bullish market for a lot of different reasons. But Trump's setting records. When he was inaugurated on January the 20th, the amount of the U.S. federal debt owed both externally and internally was over $19 trillion. In fact, it was $19.947 trillion. It was due to crack the $20 trillion mark. People were like, when are we going to punch through that ceiling? See, unlike the stock market, you don't want your debt to continue growing. The amount of debt as of August 17 has decreased by more than $100 billion to 19 trillion 845 billion. So 19.845 trillion. Down $102 billion. Let me repeat, down $102 billion. We have not crested $20 trillion. Now, I want you to remember, Barack Obama took our debt from over $9+ trillion to over $19 trillion. More debt than all other presidents combined. And that was with George Bush giving him a $787 billion present. Because had it not been for that, Obama would have inherited a debt of just roughly 8 to 9 trillion, 8.9, 9.1 trillion dollars, and he would have had the distinction of growing the debt by almost $11 trillion in 8 years. Because he printed money like crazy. Had nothing to back it up. No president in U.S. history has ever cut the amount of U.S. debt by this amount, and no president has presided over a debt cut like this ever. Did you hear what I said? Ever. History buffs think that that's not the case. They think Clinton and even George Bush oversaw U.S. debt cuts over a period of a few years after the Republican Congress was led by Gingrich, forced Bill Clinton into signing a balanced budget. It's not the case. Donald Trump is the only president in history to preside over such a tax cut, such a cut from our debt. Congress pushed Clinton kicking and screaming into signing a balanced budget. But the U.S. debt during that period increased. And you can confirm this. Go to the U.S. Treasury Department, go to treasurydirect.gov. You can look at the numbers. Even though Bill Clinton was balancing the budget, the debt continued to grow. The U.S. Government Accountability Office, they call it the GAO, performed audits since 1997 of the U.S. debt and what our outstanding amounts. And their analysis shows that when accounting for U.S. debt held by the public and U.S. intergovernmental debt holdings, the amount of U.S. debt has increased every year since their audits began. The amount of U.S. debt held by the public decreased each year in 1999, 2000, and 2001. But the intergovernmental debt holdings increased at larger amounts during that period. So what they're saying is the government took on more of its debt and the public sold off. Now, the Treasury website provides daily amounts of debt outstanding, but it goes back to March 31st of 2005. They provide monthly outstanding back to September 30th of 2001 and annuals back to 1997. And the audited financial statements show the increase in the U.S. debt annually from 1997 to 2016. The debt has steadily risen. We know that no president has reduced the amount of U.S. debt for a longer period of time than Donald Trump, because no president has reduced the debt since 1997. It has not been reduced. Forget the amount of time. You following me, folks? You paying attention? Donald Trump has made history, and he's only months in. If he continues in this course and he holds this steady, this will be the first time in modern, since 1997, since we've been recording this, that, and by the way, since it really mattered, we had no real debt up until the time of Reagan. We practically balanced the budget every time. Then somebody said, you know what? We can go into these Keynesian economic models and we can spend as much as we want. It's money that's circulating, it's active, and nobody really ever is going to get it back. It's a Ponzi scheme. And so they say it doesn't matter. And truthfully, there is some truth for that. At some point, some group of people is going to go, man, I ain't worried about the debt. The world is ending. We got massive volcanoes and earthquakes and all, and there doesn't need to be any chairs left and musical chairs. And they're going to let it go. And so governments run on that. Talk to some chief economists. They will tell you this. The way we run our accounting is we look at it as we got a finite amount of time, and we plan for the future, and that future is a bright future. We go, okay, I got to take a vacation. I want to buy a boat. I want to get a beach house, whatever. But economists say you can kick that can as long as you want, because at some point, somebody's going to just go, okay, that's it. The world will be destroyed. They don't have to worry about it. If you had that fatalistic approach to the world, you could get away with it too. You could go, I'll pay my bills. I'm only going to, let me put it to you this way. If you had a year to live right now, and you could, and I'm just saying, I'm not telling you would do this, but you could say to all your friends, hey, look, I'm really struggling. I got to pay some medical bills. Can you loan me $100,000 or $10,000, whatever you can get out of your friends? And then you go on a craze, drunken, chick-filled, nutty spree, knowing that you're dying. What are they going to do? Man, you need to pay up, Kev. Dude, in the hospital, I'm in. You can take it from my kids. And conk out. I'm just saying. That's the fatalistic view. That's how leftists don't live. How many of these fools do you think are planning, well, we have to be sure to be good stewards of the land and stewards of our countries and stewards of this or that. The overwhelming leftists don't give a crap about the money they leave for children or taking care of old people or pets or anything else. All they care about is what's going to satisfy their carnal pleasures this moment right now. And it's gone. That moment's gone. Now it's the next moment they want satisfied. They're like crackheads. They hit that pipe once, they get that high, and then it goes away, and they're like, okay, we gotta go get some more crack. And you know who the crack is? You supply the crack. You're a crack dealer and didn't even know it. So Donald Trump comes along and he says, let's start exercising fiscal responsibility. And what's he do? He starts cutting government waste. And then so aside from cutting the federal government bureaucracy, he's fired 15,000 government employees? That's not a rounding error, folks. You're talking about people that make 100 to 200 grand a year. 15,000. Somebody want to do the math? Do the math. Let's say everybody makes $100,000. Okay, 15,000. That's $15 billion that he's cut from the deficit. Gone. So you wonder how you can save money. You cut that. You start holding people's feet to the fire on contracts. You start putting taking away the government legislation that's creating the problems for businesses with their tax receipts. And so next thing you know, you got money flowing into the Treasury. You got people working. You got all kinds of good things that begin to happen. No president, I want to repeat this, has reduced the amount of the U.S. debt for a longer period of time than Donald Trump, because no president at least in the modern era, has reduced the debt since 1997. A review of the amount of unaudited U.S. debt outstanding back through the Civil War shows that the last time the federal government had a debt decrease between years was when Republican Eisenhower was president in 1957 and 1958. He cut the amount of the U.S. debt by $2 billion each year, from $274 billion in 1956 to $273 in 1957, and again to $271 in 1958. Now, a $271 billion deficit is practically a rounding error. Make sure your leftist friends are aware of the news I just told you.
Kevin Jackson
on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.